Hello everyone and welcome to today's video on the BBLOS channel. I'm very pleased to announce a brand new segment today. This segment is going to be the complex words segment. And in this segment, you will discover your love for words. And even if you don't love words, you will find out why they're immensely useful and why you actually care about them a lot more than you ever thought you did. So stay tuned to find out what it is with words and why you will love them. Words shape your life. They shape every interaction you have, whether it is in person or online. They shape how you can express your thoughts, how you can make people understand you. They also influence how you can understand people, which means words are a beautiful thing. Words were invented always because people had an urge to communicate something. And for that very reason, you will hopefully love words. Now, why does this segment exist? Well, this is all about one specific term, the Flash Conte readability test. You might ask, what is the Flash Conte readability test? Well, the Flash Conte readability test is a test that was devised in the United States of America in the 1970s to make sure that instructions that were given to employees were understandable enough and not too complex. How does this test measure if text is complex or not? Well, it does that by using two variables, so two factors. The first one is it looks at the number of syllables in each word. The second one is it looks at the number of words in each sentence. So the more syllables there are in each word and the more words there are in the sentence, the higher the score is, which means the more complex the form of communication is, the harder it is to understand. This test does not tell you anything about the quality of the idea that is being communicated. It only tells you how easy it is to understand. So you might ask, why does this test matter to me? Well, it matters because you can use this test to then measure how language has changed over time and how people have communicated differently in the past compared to how they communicate today. So if you look at the Flash Conte readability test scores and map them over the last 100 years, you can see a decline, which means a decrease in the language level of how people communicate, specifically in how officials communicate, meaning politicians around the world, company owners. And this in itself has positive sides and negative sides to it. But before we come to those, let me quickly tell you why this has changed over time. So, what are the reasons for it changing over time? Well, you have three categories. The first one, I'm not going to talk about long. It is regional specific laws that have changed over time, but that would not explain why the language level has decreased all around the world. So, what are the two main reasons? First one is a societal one, meaning it's all about people. And this one is that more and more people were able to vote. Historically, it was mostly wealthy white men that were voting in most Western countries around the world. And nowadays, the voting landscape looks very different. It includes people from all economical and social backgrounds. And with that, politicians have to talk to anyone of any educational level. The second reason why this has changed is a technological reason. This one being the radio. Now, the radio, being invented in the 1920s, changed how officials talked to the public. Specifically because they now had the chance and therefore also the duty to talk to anyone. Duty if they wanted to win the vote, in the case of politicians. And therefore they had to talk in a way that anybody could understand them. And so over time, they talked more simple and simple and simple. What is the positive here? Well, as you maybe have figured out, based on what I just said, all those changes are a sign of increasing democracy in our world. More people have a say in what happens, and therefore the politicians that want to have power need to talk to more people. That is a positive thing. The negative thing about this is that as time went on, language became more simple, and with that, it became less precise. And when language loses its precision, it also loses accountability. What do I mean by that? If a politician talks nowadays, it is in a way that voters or anyone that listens to them cannot be entirely sure about what they meant. Think about the last time you talked to a friend. Are you entirely sure that you understood them correctly? Hopefully, but there's a good chance that the answer is no, particularly when you talk to someone you don't know yet. A large part of understanding the people we talk to is because we already know the people that we talk to. Understanding is much harder when you talk to someone you don't know yet and they talk in a way that is unclear, that is imprecise. So even if you then have everything written down, you have no way of making sure that they do what they promised you to do. So if you look at a legal document, it has a very high Flash Conte readability test score, which means it is complex. Now, that might not sound great at first hand, but it actually is positive because everybody that is involved in that legal contract knows exactly what they're getting at. You might need a lawyer to help you understand the legal contract, but it is precise, which means it is much harder to argue about the contents of it. Whereas if you have a weak legal contract or any sort of communication that is weak, there is ambiguity to what is written or said. And this, which originally was a sign of democracy, that language becomes more simplified over time, nowadays is something that politicians and company leaders can use as a loophole. It is something that is very easy to use, where you make vague promises and vague statements which voters or people in your company can interpret as they would like to interpret it to then support you, but you are not held accountable by what you said because it was so imprecise. Now, why does that lead to today's video? Well, in general, English is not my first language, and so I've always made an effort to learn as many words in English as I possibly can. English in itself is one of the languages in the world that has the highest number of usable words, but it has a fairly low number of used words, particularly when you look at it in a ratio of usable to used words. In this segment, therefore, we are going to talk about all kinds of words. Every day, I'm going to pick out a word you might already know or hopefully not know yet. We're going to discuss what the word means, how it can be used. I hope that with this segment, you can better understand the people that you listen to, and the people that you talk to will better be able to understand you. Tell me in the comment section what you think about this segment, and please be so kind and share in the comment section with me a word that has changed your life after you learned it. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!